Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Ethereum and look at the risk metric of the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. So we're not looking at Ethereum USD, we're solely focusing in this video on the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation and the color-coded risk metric that you can see here. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, help me get to 50,000 subs. Also make sure you check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. And also give the video a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and jump in. So this is the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation since 2015. We note that we've had these major peaks and a pretty long and extended bear market. And it's color-coded, by the way, this is a logarithmic scale. This is color-coded by a risk metric, which is something I just made. It's based off price, volatility, and time, and looking at, you know what, there are these mania phases that occur in the market, and we want to try to take advantage of that by not just holding through everything and watching like your profit shoot up and then come all the way back down, because a lot of people live through 2017 and don't want to remember those times because they wish they had made a move and they just never did. So this risk metric goes from 0 to 1. It tries to help identify accumulation phases for Ethereum against the Bitcoin ratio, okay? So against its Bitcoin valuation, so Ethereum Bitcoin. And when it gets near 1, it just historically means that we are nearing the top, okay? And you can see it did a pretty good job of catching the prior two tops of the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. You might say, well, hold on a second, what about the peak in 2018? This is, again, that was against USD. We're just talking about Bitcoin here. The Ethereum Bitcoin ratio blasted off in early 2016 when Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average, and then early 2017 once Bitcoin got to its prior all-time high. This movement was just after Bitcoin finished its run. So, and it was cut short because Bitcoin broke through the 20-week and just started heading down. And if Bitcoin does that, then other coins will follow. So, and even in this situation, it still reached pretty high. You can see it reached around, 0.6 to 0.7 risk. So the idea here is if we take the color-coded dimension out and just look at the risk metric, so the yellow line is the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio plotted on the primary y-axis. The risk is the red line, which is plotted on the secondary y-axis. And the general idea is trying to figure out, okay, what are periods of accumulation of Ethereum against Bitcoin? What are periods of where you might want to consider trading some back to Bitcoin. And you can kind of see that if you go up to say 0.5, you can kind of see this, these general areas of undervaluation and overvaluation. Of course, as we've mentioned before, it's not always wise, especially if you want to be a little bit more hands-off on the market, to buy up to a valuation of 0.5 and then sell right above it, because then there might be days where you're just constantly flip-flopping depending on what the hourly movements are. So you could always just set like a band where you simply don't do anything between. And again, this is not looking at the metric in terms of the USD risk at all. This is just only looking at it within the confines of the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation. And what we notice is if you look to see these swing trades based on the risk metric, you can pretty much see where it tends to come. Like, I mean, it comes down to 0.3 to 0.4 risk a lot of times. Over here, it came a lot further down. And when it gets up to these regions, it tends to be a little bit overblown. Okay, so we can identify these general periods of reaccumulation of Ethereum against Bitcoin. And then also, we can identify these short-term bubbles that have formed. We saw one here back in 2018. The risk went between 0.6 to 0.7. This was that final blow-off peak, and which paled in comparison to these. Remember, you have to think about this not in terms of USD, because in terms of USD, there would have been a lot of indicators saying, we're nearing the top. This is solely the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, and it's assuming that you're not going out to US dollars or stable coins. Basically, the assumption is that you're just trying to minimize your risk within the cryptocurrency market by offloading some of it whenever it gets to these key milestones. And say by taking an approach like this, once it got back to the 0.6 risk level, it would have indicated a potential sell back to Bitcoin once it got there. And you can also do this dynamically so that it allows you, if the risk were to continue going up against Bitcoin, then you just sell more and more Ethereum to Bitcoin, or if it were to continue going down this way, then you could just buy more Ethereum with Bitcoin. Now, I don't know if we're going to make it back down to this level or not. But if we do, I would consider it a very strong opportunity if it presents itself. But there's a really decent chance that this opportunity does not present itself in the short term. And one of the things we talked about again, right, is the idea that Ethereum does tend to bleed against Bitcoin in the fourth quarter of the year, but it tends to turn around by the first quarter of the following year. So what we're looking for here is simply for Bitcoin to, as we said in other videos, for Bitcoin volatility to just come back down, give Ethereum the chance to start moving. And if Bitcoin moves up to say like 17K, 18K, there's a good chance Ethereum's going to break $500. But this is not what we want to see, right? This is still to some degree playing in the sandbox. What we want to see is we want to see Bitcoin go sideways, and we want to see the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio go up. And that could happen by Ethereum going to $500, $600, $700, $800, and Bitcoin valuation staying flat. Therefore, the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation just shooting through the roof. Okay, this is what we would like to see, because then it can give an opportunity for a key swing trade of Ethereum back to Bitcoin. Remember, I hold more Bitcoin than Ethereum, but in terms of expected returns, I expect a higher return from Ethereum, but I'm paying for it with more units of risk because the volatility of Ethereum is a lot higher than it is for Bitcoin. The lows tend to be lower, but the highs can be higher in terms of how it's measured from bottom to peak. And as I've said before, I think Ethereum is one market cycle behind Bitcoin. And you could switch this risk metric a number of ways, right? You could buy up to 0.5 risk with Bitcoin, and then only start selling at 0.7 or 0.8. You could always leave a gray region if you wanna try to deal with some tax liabilities. You don't want to pay short-term capital gains taxes, so you don't just want to buy Ethereum with Bitcoin and then flip-flop it 2 days later. Then you could, in that scenario, you could look at it in terms of creating a region where you're just simply not doing anything. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think this risk metric is pretty useful in identifying swings back and forth. Back when the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio got to this level on the premium list, if you guys follow the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com, we talked about this being a key level, and I did set a stop loss of some Ethereum back to Bitcoin, recognizing that the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio was pretty overblown in the short term, just like it was in 2018. But again, it was only a token sell, not all of it, because we want to keep some on the table, the majority of it on the table, in case the risk keeps going up. So it's all about dollar cost averaging the sells in the same way you dollar cost average the buys. It's not financial advice. This is just how I do it. If you guys want access to the risk metric, the quantitative version, you can check out intothecryptoverse.com. You'll get access to the risk metric. Also, several other things like premium videos, premium reports, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, and also I'm starting to put on TradingView indicators for people on the premium list. So check it out. We also do have, I also wanted to show this final plot, and it's kind of an interesting plot. It's just plotting the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation against the risk, and it's color coded by time, so you can kind of see it starting here, coming down, moving up, coming back down at a higher valuation than last time, then moving back up, then coming back down, ultimately moving back up. We kind of retraced a little bit, but I think we're going to ultimately, come back up as we continue on marching through this market cycle. So if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Thank you for tuning in. Check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.